Hello and welcome back to the Rose Ed podcast. This is episode 18. Got something different. We got Adam Dedman joining us from the Stands podcast. Would you like to introduce yourself?
You should have introduced me as the man, the myth, the legend. Yeah.
Oh,
It's about time I've been on this podcast. Yeah. It's about time. Yeah.
okay.
No, it's a pleasure to be on. It's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah,
Happy, man.
it's happy to be here. And also obviously joined by my co-host, Ducker. How you doing after this weekend's result?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still feeling a little bit worse for wear after that 2-2 win over Ipswich. Yeah, no, buzzing 14 years of dominance. Those blue cunts will never fucking realise what it feels like
Oh,
to be dominant in a derby, and it's fucking brilliant.
oh, brilliant. That 2-2 win is huge, to be fair. Definitely
Oh,
does a
it
lot
is.
for you. So it's really great. Speaking of a 2-2 win, let's go to Tottenham and who won 2-0 against Nottingham Forest on Friday night. Massive result for them, obviously with a lot of injuries to a couple of key players, a lot of stupid suspensions that their players keep getting as well. So I don't have much sympathy there, but they're still in that top four race. So I don't know what you guys think, but do you think they can do enough to get there, or do you think they'll get beaten to it?
I don't know
Have
if
a
you
go.
want. I'll start. I'll start. I'll
Yeah, go
start.
on.
Personally, I think they won't get top four, but I think they can get fifth. I feel like they're putting in. They've surprised. So I did a prediction with, Tom, I think, big Tottenham
Yeah,
fan.
yeah,
He was confident. I thought they were going to draw against Forest. I thought Forest might come back this weekend because they've been on
mhm,
bad form. But
yeah,
to be fair, they played quite well from what I saw, and I know they've had a few injuries. Well, it's mainly suspensions with them.
yeah,
Um, they've got another one now with Basuma, but I think if they can, I think if they can keep this 11 going with a few options on the bench, I think they can get fifth, maybe sixth. I think they could definitely get Europe.
mm,
But yeah, I think they've got it. I don't. I think City, Villa, and Liverpool and Arsenal. I think
yeah,
they're too strong. I think they've got a
mm,
solid squad. They've got good depth off the bench. If there are any injuries, there's not much of a problem because they've got enough option there to bring anyone in. Um, and they've not really had many suspensions. They've other than Kamara for Brentford,
yeah,
but against Brentford, sorry. Um, they've sort of kept that 11 even with the injuries. They've still managed to cope. So yeah, I think, and again, it's not too long till we see the likes of Madison coming back. Yeah, I think Spurs. It's. I think I promised them to finish fifth, but I don't think they've got
yeah,
it what it takes to get top four.
yeah. And what about you, Ducker? Do you agree?
Yeah, no, I think what we're forgetting here is sort of like how far Spurs have fallen. I think it was only a couple of
Mm,
months ago, a month and a half ago, we were seriously speaking about Spurs being real title contenders. You know, the way how Ange
yeah,
had them playing,
mm,
the results they were picking up. You know, the win against Liverpool, granted maybe undeserved in the with the 12th man being
yeah,
the referee for Spurs that day, but
yeah,
still picking up results like that. Um, and all of a sudden that Chelsea game hits them like a ton of bricks, and we're now speaking about
mm,
them, finishing fifth if they're lucky.
yeah,
So it just kind of shows sort of like how like just a poor run of games, 4 or 5 games, you don't pick
yeah,
up any points or you're not picking up many. It really can set you back, and with Spurs, it really
mm,
has. So yeah, no, I fully agree. I think finishing fifth for them is definitely probably the most likely place where they'll finish. I don't think they're going to scrape on top four. Still think Man City have got that sort of that run in them to make sure they
yeah,
get top four spot. I don't know if they'll win the league
mm,
though, but we'll
mm,
go on to that, I guess. But yeah, I think
yeah,
the other front three, I think they're far and clear. Like Dedman said, the squad depth in all three of them is incomparable to what Spurs have.
yeah. I think, like you said, I think it's still a month or so, isn't it, till I think Madison's back. But as you said, they lost like four in a row or didn't win in 4 or 5 games, and there were some big games, including obviously I think as Chelsea was in that mix, and they dropped points against their like rivals, I suppose you want to call it, and they just kept falling. Very Spurs like, I suppose you could say, if you want to rattle a few Spurs
Spursy,
fans. Very
Spursy, mate.
Spursy, very Spursy. But I think this is where we sort of we predicted them. I predicted them like seventh or something, so they're going to do better than that. But obviously, no one had Villa where they are, and obviously touching on Villa, they obviously got a late win against Brentford. I think it was the 95th minute winner they got. Um, Something like that. So it was massive win for them to keep them they're second in the league, joint on points with Liverpool, And I don't think anyone had Aston Villa to be anywhere near that top four, or like
I'm pretty sure I did have Aston Villa to finish in the top
other
four.
than Duck, who knows everything about football,
Oh, I do.
apparently. So to have them there knocks off that space of what probably would have been a Newcastle, a Chelsea, or a Tottenham. So I think that's a massive for them. But before we touch on Aston Villa, we will go to Devon's team, Chelsea, who won a game at last, it feels like, against Sheffield. Again, they should be winning. They won 2-0 comfortably at Stamford Bridge. What are your thoughts on it? And Kunku back on the bench is a massive positive, of course.
Back on
But
the bench. Yeah.
yeah,
I only managed. I was working Saturday,
yeah,
so I didn't get to. But I watched the last half hour, but it was just comfortable. I was pretty much just
yeah,
keeping possession, retaining the ball. But I just feel like the thing is, it's nothing to get too excited about. Like I'm happy with the win, but I was the same again when we beat Luton. It's
mm,
like it's teams that you should be winning against. I don't want to be
mm.
negative or like a
Yeah.
pessimist. Like, I don't want
It's
to be one of them
realistic.
fans who are like,
Yeah,
"Oh yeah, well we won," like, but it don't matter. It's just
yeah,
realistic. Like it's realism. Um,
yeah,
but it's just more hoping that we can carry this form on. Again, I think we are going to start getting some of our players back from injury. Like Nkunku's on the bench. I think
mm.
Chukwuemeka. Sorry, boys, but I just want to get Chukwuemeka,
Oh.
mate. Yeah?
What?
Chukwuemeka.
That
That's
Yeah.
for the
puts
only.
that puts my Oliver Skip Norwich shirt to shame.
Yeah,
Mate,
that's incredible.
quality, mate.
He was
But
good
yeah,
until his injury.
we'll probably
Yeah,
we'll see him back soon. I think Madueke is coming back. Whether there's speculation around him leaving, I don't know. But
yeah,
he'll be back soon. I think there is positive signs coming January onwards. But I think it's just one of them ones where it's like, yeah, good to get 3 points, but we've just got to keep this form up because we've been so inconsistent.
yeah,
We win a game, or like the only good form we had, I think, when we beat Brighton in the cup, beat Fulham, and then had a few. I think we had a really good game against City, beat Spurs,
mm,
but then it
yeah,
just all dropped again. I think we need to keep that up, and
mm,
it's
You say,
annoying because
yeah.
yeah, go on, no, go
I
on,
was going to
Vicar.
say, like, obviously, I think with Chelsea at the minute, it's surely the problems lie not only just on the pitch, but off it as well. I think, like, especially like results picking up wins against Sheffield United. Surely that's just paper over the cracks at the minute.
What do you mean? In
Well, when I look at Chelsea at the minute, I just see that sort of the whole club is a bit of a mess. I
oh
think from
yeah,
top to bottom,
mm,
the manager as well. Pochettino is just seems like a man without any ideas. It looks like these are Todd Bowley's players rather than Pochettino's players.
yeah.
Um,
mm,
so I don't
Um,
know. It just seems like a bit of a mess at the minute.
Yeah, I know. I spoke about this with my mates the other day. Like, literally, it's crazy to think that all of this has happened in the space of a year and a half. Like, it
yeah,
genuinely feels like it's been 3, 4 years. Like, it's crazy. Like, we literally only got rid of Tuchel like around this time last year, and it's weird because it's interesting you pick up about that about the signings. Like, we've been known as a club to spend our money on like world class, not necessarily world class, but
mm,
quality players who get into a team, no doubt. They get into that starting 11, no doubt. Like
yeah,
Nkunku, that was a good signing. But when
mm,
Tuchel was manager, he was making signings where it made sense. Like Kukurea, obviously, yes, we might speak of him now as like one of the not one of the
yeah.
worst left back, but he's not. But at the time, it was a
It's
great
like,
signing because
yeah,
he'd just done really well at
mm,
Brighton. City were
mm,
after him. We also bought Sterling, Koulibaly, who he didn't win the league at Napoli at the time, but
mm,
he was a great centre back. It was signings that made sense, and I think
yeah,
when there was a change of method when Potter came in, and we
mm,
started signing a lot of these youngsters, it is interesting that you say that thing about signings because I think since then it's just been a mess. And I do understand your point. Yeah, it's a tough one because we're just all over the place. Again, I think it's tough because I I truly believe that some of the players aren't happy. I just think,
yeah,
like deep down themselves, I don't think they're happy. Um, but it's just a tough one because it's just such a mess for a Chelsea fan. Like we're in 10th. It's just not good
yeah.
enough.
And especially,
Um,
yeah, I think like you said, like on all them big contracts as well. Like these are young players that are 21, 22 years of age, and they've signed away
mm,
now 8 years of it's
yeah,
like that. I mean, like that's near their whole career. So the only way out for them is if a club comes in and spends stupid money, but none of them are playing enough to be like, oh, for, like Caicedo's a good example. Okay, he's not been amazing by any means, but he was 100 and what, 20 million pound, 150 million. If he wanted to move, let's say he is unhappy, the only way he gets out of Chelsea is either constant loans until his contract's up, or some team comes in and spends what, 170 million to pay off his,
Yeah,
and that's no one's going to do that because he's not playing
yeah,
well enough. And I think that could be scary for a lot of young players. Sort of like, as you said, Madueke. Obviously, he wasn't bought for loads of money, but he's a seems like a talented player, a young player.
that to be fair, that
But
was one that it was 30 mil, so it wasn't crazy.
yeah,
And he was a talent at PSV.
yeah,
It's the crazy side. Like, don't get me wrong, Caicedo, yeah, he might be somewhat prem proven, but I think he only had a year and a half at Brighton anyway. It
yeah,
wasn't like,
mm.
um, but the thing is with firstly, there's a new prem rule now that you can't sign a player past five, like on their contract
Oh
for
yeah,
more than five
yeah,
years. So
mm.
obviously we've had an impact to do that.
Yeah,
But that's going to be interesting to see how that business
yeah,
handles going forward. You know, do what type of signings are we going to do now? Because we can't
mm.
spend all this money and then
Yeah,
try and get it. You know, it's not
mm.
gonna work. My thing is we're going to lose money. You know, we've bought these players,
Yeah,
Mudryk, for example, who when we bought him for 100 mil, you know, his market value shoots up to
mm.
60 just because of the fee. But he's probably his value's definitely gone down. Let's not
Yeah,
you know
100% it has.
sugarcoat
Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
And again, I'm looking at that thinking if he's improving, don't get me wrong. But if he
mm.
doesn't start producing numbers or he isn't doing enough, then what offers are we going to get? And it's just another player who isn't
Mm.
improving, sort of just average, you know.
Yeah.
And then we just wait for what 30 mil to come in, and we've lost 70 mil on that
No.
player.
Yeah,
So
it's very much as you said, you've got so many players that could do with that year or so out to get form because you've got
yeah,
so many you've got a squad of what, like 35 senior players or something stupid, isn't it? Like
I
because you
think it's
bought so
cut down.
many.
I think it's cut down a bit because we sold quite a lot during the summer. We
Yeah.
sold a lot, um,
But they
but
all need
it's annoying
minutes.
because the players we sold, like I'm looking at, and they're doing really well elsewhere. Like Pulisic and Loftus-Cheek aren't doing too bad at Milan.
They're doing well,
I'm trying
yeah.
to think. Obviously, well, Koulibaly and Mendy went Saudi. Ziyech went Galatasaray, but
Mount's not
it's
been great, but other than that, they've
yeah. Well, Mount's injured. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
I think we did need to get rid of them. Don't get me wrong. I think they were just
mm,
becoming sort of dead weight.
yeah.
But it's going to be interesting going forward. I don't know about you guys, but is there anyone? Is there any players who you think look they've got to go? Like they're just not
It's just
looking
interesting,
good
sort of
or
the transfer regimes. It's sort of like the current transfer regime just seems to me it's sort of in the middle of what Graham Potter's was and what Thomas Tuchel's was. Sort of buying
Mm,
big players for big money that are going to get into the starting lineup. That sort of fee, but for young players who won't be in that
mm,
starting 11, it
mm.
just doesn't work. If that makes sense, you're
mm,
spending 100 million on Mikhailo
Yeah,
Mudryk, who clearly, evidently, is nowhere near the level of starting. Moises Caicedo is the exact same. You said it yourself, a year and a half in the Premier League.
mm,
Right,
yeah,
granted, he did very well, but you're playing in the midfield at Chelsea. Now,
mm,
Chelsea is it's a Champions League competing club, currently underperforming, and with players like that with sort of big contracts that are just going to take forever to
mm.
yeah,
get down the end of because not going to get bought out if the players keep underperforming, and because they're young
Exactly.
players, they've been given these big contracts to sort of. But
mm.
it just for me it doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
I'm the same. What frustrates me is we're sort of funding these transfers through Cobham. We've
Yeah,
had one of the
Mm,
best academies for
yeah.
well, like not the best, but one of the best
Yeah.
for many years. And you think about all the academy players we've sold that have funded all these transfers.
Mm.
You know, it's annoying because they're doing well. Like you look at Tamori,
I was gonna
even the
say
ones who
Tomori,
aren't
yeah.
who
Tammy
haven't necessarily
Abraham.
won, yeah, not
Mm,
necessarily won trophies like Mark Gahey. How much he's improved.
yeah.
And just quickly, because obviously I imagine we don't want to stick on this for too long, but the interesting point you made about loans, Athene, I think I think I saw something earlier because there's speculation around Madueke because he's the main one who he hasn't really he hasn't been given much game time. Don't really
Yeah.
see him under Poch because he's very low down in terms of option. I think
Yeah.
Palmer's been doing well, Sterling's been doing well. He doesn't play on the
Mm.
left, so Mudryk is kind of
Yeah.
starting either way.
Mm.
But they said that they're not going to loan anyone. They're not looking to loan any players because, and I get that because
Mm.
of the amount of money they spent.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
spent so much
100%.
money.
Yeah.
I think loaning players isn't going to do anything. And
Yeah.
again, I don't know who. Well, I say that I think there's a lot of teams who'd want to loan
Yeah.
these players because they have talent in there. There is a player in it, every single one of them, but as well they're probably on high wages. So loaning these players might do a
It's
bit of damage
difficult.
to
Mm.
your own club if you want to loan them. But
Yeah.
as well, we're having to pay these high wages, not even paying for us. They're paying for someone
Yeah.
else.
I
So
think it's like you
it's
said,
a tough one.
like you said, you need to cash in on these lads. So you're going to end up just going, "Do you know, what, we'll take half the price, we'll take half this, or even less, just because you're gonna spend in January. So it's not like you're going to go,
Yeah,
oh, we're not going to. So you need to free up another 5 or 6 players because that's probably what you're going to buy. So you need to
yeah,
sell a few lads, and if you have to go, okay, we sell them for half what we bought them for. He's not short of money, but he doesn't give a shit if he loses a bit of money. Let's be honest. But
yeah,
for the club, it's not a good look because if I was a player playing at a top level or even a decent level, and Chelsea come in for me, you look at them and look at other players and go, like compared to another team in the Prem that might look more promising. Okay, Chelsea's a big name, one of the biggest names in the league in the world of football. That's I understand that. But as a young player, you'd be worried because look how you're not mistreating, but so many players you look at and go, like, why are you there? Like, okay, Lavia was a weird one. You just bought Caicedo, you didn't need him. You bought him.
mm.
You've got Ugo Chukwu as well. Um, I think that's how you say his name.
Oh
You got a
yeah,
lot of
no, yeah,
players
big
in
Les,
the
mate, big
same
Les.
big players in the same role who just aren't performing at that level, like Enzo as well. But like you said, you
Yeah,
could talk about Chelsea for hours, but we will
yeah,
move
we
on.
could.